morning and welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. This is Logan Burgess. Today's August 22nd and the grains are selling off just a little bit this morning. Corn only down about 2, beans leading to the downside down about 11, and wheat down 8.5. Logan, what's driving the trade this morning, especially after the rally that we've seen the last couple days?
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a pause here in the grain complex in general. We have some negative outside news here out of Europe. Greece sounds like they're having a hard time meeting austerity measure deadlines that they had set up about a month ago here. That's not good for the macro environment right now. But additionally, we do have an improving precipitation forecast for some areas of the Corn Belt early next week. I think particularly soybeans are going to remain very focused on weather as they're in the pod setting stage right now. So I think that's helping beans here lead to the downside. You know, bottom line though, the grains are going to remain very focused on the Pro Farmer Crop Tour now in day 3 of that tour. Let's take a look and see what came out yesterday out of that tour. As you can see here, they released state-level expectations for both Indiana and Nebraska in terms of corn yield. As you can see, Indiana coming in at 113.25 bushels per acre. Kind of interesting story there. That's actually higher than what the USDA projected in August. And this is the first state-level forecast that actually beat the USDA August projection here. Nebraska, kind of a continuation of the trend that we've seen for this crop tour here. Nebraska coming in at 131.79 there, projected by Pro Farmer, well below what we saw the USDA come out with in August. USDA was looking for around 147 bushels per acre there.
Well, you know, I look at this Indiana number, and I think here's a number that beats the USDA expectations. And Indiana was one of the first states that really started getting affected by this drought, and it was very much in the south where it developed. And then just a lack of precipitation, especially during the pollination part of this corn crop's life. Right. What do you make of this? How is the trade going to react to this beating expectations and yield for Indiana?
Well, you know, I think that the focus is going to squarely remain on the significant pullback in yield projections that we've seen starting on day 1 of the tour here. I think we were reading reports from scouts that were out in the field that the variability on this crop was extremely high, what they were looking at, so it's going to be very hard to gather an accurate yield expectation out of this crop. Additionally, the tour route actually missed some of the area that was extremely hard hit, like you were saying, down in the southern portion of the state. So maybe this was looking at a little better area of the state than it was reflective of the state on a whole, I guess. Bottom line, I think here that the grains are very concerned with what the Pro Farmer Tour is finding out there. What's your take on that? Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't think it's fuel to just to rocket higher. I think in a sense the trade's going to kind of shrug its shoulders and say, well, what's the level of confidence that we have in these numbers? The variability that they reported was incredibly high. In one county they had a yield of 0. On the other side of that same county they had a yield of 188. That's both dry land. So the bottom line for me, I see this number for Indiana. I'm going to kind of shrug my shoulders and say, let's see what the other states hold. But I mean, it is a little bit of a surprise, but it's certainly not enough to make me want to go out there and short this rally.
Right, certainly. Well, you know, it does sound like we do have an improving precipitation forecast here for the next couple days. Take a look here at a map provided by Planalytics. As you can see, decent precipitation here coming into the western Corn Belt early next week. This map is from Monday, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. As we said, the soybean complex is going to remain very focused on precipitation here for determining yield. Corn, a lot of people are looking at kind of dead in the ground here at this point.
I think you're spot on, because really on the day 2 of the tour in the western part of the Corn Belt, they had mentioned that the beans could finish off strong if they get the right growing conditions. Well, this certainly helps out in those right growing conditions, and I think that's why we're seeing beans lead to the downside this morning.
Does corn have a chance here, Cody, or how is this going to ultimately affect 12-13 ending stocks?
Well, the interesting thing, you say that there's a great quote that Chip Flory said yesterday, and I'll read it to you right now. He said, "Honestly, I didn't see risk of significant cut to the USDA's corn crop estimate of 10.8 billion bushels. After the last 2 days on the western leg of the tour, I now see a significant risk of a cut to the 2012-2013 corn supply." So I think that's the theme here. I think that's why we rallied so hard yesterday. I think day 2 wasn't a significant surprise like day 1 was, and as in that same light, we're pausing. We're not selling off. We're pausing, it seems. And I think that'll, we're waiting for those news for the remainder of day 3.
Right. Well, if we take a look here at a map, day 3 is underway right now. As you can see here, they're going to be both legs of this tour, both the western and eastern are converging here in Iowa. We'll have to see what they come out with as far as yield projections. The USDA in August was looking for 141 bushels per acre on average out of this Iowa crop. That's kind of the number to keep an eye on here. We expect Pro Farmer to come in below that number here with what they find in the field. You can follow them on Twitter, #PFTour12. They'll be tweeting all day about it. We'll also be retweeting. @GrainTV is our Twitter handle here, so we'll keep you posted on the markets as they trade. I think that kind of wraps up our show here for Wednesday morning on GrainTV. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.